Hey, my name is Josh Bragg. This is my disc golf YouTube channel. Today I'm out here in Bennettsville, South Carolina at Bennettsville First Church of the Nazarene. Today I'm going to be doing some field work and showing you some of my favorite discs. Let's get started. Alright, one thing about field work is practicing your putting. Practicing putting is my most important thing that I do and the thing that I practice the most on to get me better at disc golf. I like putting on a dynamic disc marksman basket, and it helps me be a better putter because it's smaller than the basket that is on the course. The putting putter that I like using is Dynamic Disc Moonshine Wardens. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing in field work that I like to do is start by warming up by throwing my putters. Throwing my putters help me warm up, get loose, so I can start throwing my mid-ranges and my drivers. And so I'm going to show you a few of my favorite throwing putters. Number one is a Prime Deputy. I know what you're thinking, Prime? Why Prime? Prime plastic is one of my favorite plastics in this Deputy because it feels good in my hand and it flies real good, and I like the flight pattern on it. I've tried other plastic Deputies and it just didn't feel the same or fly the same. Prime Deputy is affordable, it's really good for beginners because it's affordable and all prime plastic disc. And so that's one reason why I like Prime Deputy. Next is Ricky Wysocki's signature Classic Supreme Orbit Slammer. This slammer is super overstable. I like throwing this on flex backhand shots, flex forehand shots, and if I need to scramble out the woods, this is a really good disc for that shot. So let's go throw. Alright, so where I was throwing from, the basket was 225 feet away. I threw the Deputy on a little bit of a hyzer flip, and as you can see, it went about 15 to 20 feet long. And then I threw the slammer, I threw a big flex shot with it, and as you can see, it is parked. So let's go do the mid-ranges. Alright, next to my field work that I like to do is I like to throw my mid-ranges. So I'm going to show you a few of my favorite mid-ranges. First is my Moonshine EMAC Truth. When you first get this disc, it is overstable. It'll go straight and then have a big fade at the end. But I've used this disc so much, it's beat in. Now when I throw it flat, it goes straight and then a little fade at the end. And if I put hyzer on it, it holds the hyzer. And if I put anhyzer on it, it just holds that anhyzer and never fights back. Next is my Lucid Bounty. This Bounty, when I do a run up, I just end up throwing it too hard and it just becomes super flippy. So I have to do a standstill on this. I may lose a little bit of a distance, but I'm more consistent on a standstill. Let's go throw. Alright, so the basket is at 275 feet from where I was throwing from. So first disc I threw was the Truth. I threw that just about 10-15 feet past. I threw it flat and it just went straight with a small little fade. And then the next disc was the Bounty. I was trying to do a hyzer flip, but I didn't put no hyzer, so it just went straight and then turned and about 45 feet away. Let's go do the drivers. Next on my field work that I like to do is I like to throw my fairway drivers. So I'm going to show you a few of my favorite fairway drivers. First is my Chameleon Plastic Explorer. This Chameleon Plastic makes the Explorer have a little more overstability than a lot of other plastics. This disc, if I throw it flat, it's going to go straight and then end with a big fade. If I throw it on an anhyzer, it's going to fight back after a little bit and then have a small fade at the end. If I put this on a hyzer, it's going to hold the hyzer and just go on a hyzer the whole way. Next is my Opto River. This river, brand new, is very glidey. All it wants to do is just glide and glide and glide. If I throw this flat, it's going to turn a little bit and then finish with a small fade. If I throw this on a hyzer, it's not going to flip right when it comes out my hand. It'll go on a hyzer for a little bit, and then it'll flip, and then it goes dead straight. And then if I put an ante on it, it just holds the ante and never fights back. Let's go throw. Alright, so the basket is 325 feet from where I was throwing from. I threw the Explorer first, came out with a little bit of hyzer, and held the hyzer the whole way, went almost pin high, about 15-20 feet away, and then I threw the river, and threw the hyzer flip with the river, and it flipped up and went straight, and then a little fade at the end, and 10 feet from the basket. Let's go do the distance drivers. Next on my field work that I like to do is throw my distance drivers. Now I don't bag a lot of distance drivers because I'm not really consistent with them. I'm more consistent with my fairways, but I do bag a few and I do throw them. First is my Sapphire, my Opto Sapphire. This is a lightweight disc. It's 160 grams. This disc is understable for me because it's lightweight. But if I throw this flat, it's going to turn. Sometimes it'll fight back, sometimes it don't. I can put this on hyzer and it'll flip and it'll have a little bit of turn to it and maybe fight back sometimes. Next is my Royal Grace. This disc, it's not beat in, it's still a little new. So I can throw this flat and it'll have a little turn to it, but it has a good fade towards the end. And then if I put an ante on it, as long as I don't put too much, it'll fight back and have a little fade towards the end. And if I put hyzer on it, it just holds the hyzer. Let's go throw. Alright, so the basket is 375 feet away from where I was throwing from. I threw the sapphire first. I threw it on a little bit of hyzer. It flipped up and turned, and it fought back a little bit, about 15-20 feet away from the basket. Then I threw the grace next. I threw the grace a little bit high and with a little bit of hyzer on it. Held the hyzer, and it's about 50 feet short. But if I just throw it a little bit flatter and a little bit more nose down, I should be inside 30 feet. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did, go down there and like this video, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you get notified when I post. Leave a comment, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.